Hey everybody, this is your boy John, aka Captain Lestat here on a new episode of Marvel. Yes, we're going to be talking about the discussion of all the BS that is happening in Marvel Cinematic Universe land. So stay tuned.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey everybody, again, this is your boy John, aka Captain Lestat, and as always with me, you got Mr. Grumpy Beard.
What's going on?
So yes, our favorite all-time discussion. No, I'm joking. No, seriously, it's just...
I'm feeling especially grumpy.
He's especially grumpy today. And yes, no, I mean, it's crazy that, when we've been talking about Marvel for a long time, even before the podcast, and it's just sad that, him and I were talking about a lot of like Marvel stuff from the past and stuff like this. And it's sad, man. Like, you look at the MCU when it first started and you're like, damn, this is some good shit. They're building their characters. They're doing all this stuff. They're making movies that literally are like the top easily 5 of best of all time movies of all time, and they're doing it. And then like right after that moment, they're like, man, we got to make this epic. We got to make this great. We got to do this and that. And then they fuck it all up, man. They make it and they basically took a big old shit and they said, hey, yeah, fucking go. That's what you get. And then you're like, what the fuck is this shit? And what is going on? And why are these?
Yeah, it's just like they keep making decisions and they're moving shit along way before it's done. And that's where you get stupid ass CGI like MODOK.
Oh God! Oh yeah, MODOK. Oh man! And then it's because then what's weird about that is like you're taking one character and then he's like turning into another character. Because like when you look at comic books, that's not the case. They're two totally different people. It's not like in this case in the movie, it's like it's not Yellow Jacket becoming, oh hey, look, he's MODOK. That's not how that fucking works.
Well,
like
the CGI wasn't even done anyway. So
no, I know, but it was just it doesn't make sense. Like that's why I'm saying when you look at the comics and stuff, it doesn't, like as we're gonna be talking about here shortly. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Like, so why are you taking shit and making shit up to then make it really hard to try to make a timeline make any sense, especially if you start bringing in characters, which we're going to, like I said, be talking about here very shortly.
Yes, we will be. I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, when you're talking of bringing stuff in, there's one in particular for more recently from Captain America: Brave New World, which just dropped on Disney Plus on the 28th. But there's one thing that was just brought in from that movie that has me scratching my head because I don't understand its creation from the movie and how they plan on even bringing it forward from that point. But I do want to talk a little Red Hulk because my first question is like, why does Marvel not know how to do a fucking Hulk character?
And I mean, and it's funny, right before we even started this, we were thinking about, like, we were joking, we were kind of like, okay, so what would you think, like, the best, like, actors would be to, like, even try to replace the Hulk in general? And so we were kind of joking around, and of course, some of them were like, Adam Driver, Cillian Murphy, well, I'm trying to remember. Jake Gyllenhaal. And, like,
no,
people, and then there was two that were, like, they mentioned John Bernthal was one that it was already established, so we're like, well, why would you bring somebody, especially, like, technically, Jake Gyllenhaal, like, he was already Mysterio, so why would you already bring him back?
Right.
And like,
I mean, like I said, I could see Paul Dano, like, I could see that. Yes, he does have a fatter, rounder face.
Well, no, hold on. What did you call him? You don't want to mention the comment you made about his face? No?
I don't know. He just has a fatty, round face. I don't know. Like,
I thought it was a fat baby bitch face is what you said or something like that.
But
no, anyways, but yeah.
Like, like I was telling you, like, I don't think that you have to 100% CGI a Hulk to look 100% like the character that he would be in the normal human form. Like,
yeah.
Although, yes, he does have, like I said, he has a rounder face. as the Hulk, he would not have the same rounder face.
No, I know.
He gains about 1,000 pounds of more muscle. So
No, I mean, I agree with you, and I'm not saying that, but
it does get different. But with the Red Hulk, it's literally in the movie Captain America: Brave New World. It's like they took the Red Hulk and nerfed him and made him the same as the green version. And if you don't know anything about the Red Hulk, he is not like the green version. The Red Hulk is absolutely uninhibited. He is tactically intelligent. He's a thinking, calculating, brutal, weapon-toting kind of Hulk. He can emit heat at will from his eyes during non-enraged periods and can augment power levels by absorbing various types of energy, such as gamma radiation and power cosmic. I don't know if those words were reversed. I'm assuming power cosmic is a particular type of power within the comic book, but that was what it said.
It's sad to me that when you look at a character like this, where, Matt and I even talked about this before a long time ago, that, so Thaddeus Ross, again, being the general, and he's been it for so long, and unfortunately, is the guy that played him. He died a little while ago, but I understand that they had to replace him and do all that. That's not what I'm talking about here. They should have brought him back, or they should have brought the Red Hulk the same time that it should have been around the Edward Norton time, and like at least the development of that, because there was nowhere, especially from that point until right now that he becomes the Red fucking Hulk. Like, he should have been the Red Hulk a long time ago and not fucking now.
Not that I want to go back into the comic books, but in the comic books, officially in the comic books, you actually don't know who the Red Hulk is. I mean, I guess
right at first you don't.
You could probably tell in the comic books based on the freaking mustache, but the comic books in the comic books, Red Hulk had the freaking mustache.
Well, yes, but there was another. Well, typically, sometimes he wouldn't.
Sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he would. But like in the comic books, it was always Ross. At least most of the time, it was Ross. But nobody knew that it was Ross. And there was also, not to be a spoiler here, because I'm sure Marvel will introduce this in the future. His daughter becomes the Red She-Hulk. Just letting it out there.
No, because you know what's funny? That's not going to be surprising.
I would not be surprised either. People like to make money. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, right.
But you watch this movie and it's like, okay, well, Red Hulk is intelligent. He can think. He's calculating. He uses his military instincts. He has the ability to still think as General Ross, even though he is just as big as the Green Hulk is. He emits heat at will from his eyes, but yet only punches at Sam's Wakandan wings. And somehow just stands there frustrated because he can't punch through the wing. It's like, did they nerf him? Yes, they absolutely did. And they did kind of show this because, when the Green Hulk goes unconscious, he reverts back to his human form. When the Red Hulk goes unconscious, he does not revert back to the human form.
Oh, of course not.
So they did kind of show this, although I don't believe in the movie he was actually unconscious. He was just, covered by stuff, cars and stuff.
Right.
Unlike the Green Hulk, who gets stronger when his rage increases, the Red Hulk's body temperature rises when he gets angry. When the heat is intense, the heat is intense enough to melt desert sand into glass. So let's just put that out there. The meaner and angrier he gets, it actually can melt sand into glass. Did it show this in the movie?
No.
0%. 0%.
Well, yeah.
It causes him to weaken when it becomes too intense. because he lacks like a mechanism within his biology basically to cool that excess heat. And that's what can cause him basically to go back to the human form. But in the movie, what's weird is like Sam at one point de-escalates him like Natasha would do in the movies with the Green Hulk. Like he's some kind of a hostage negotiator talking down a criminal who's holding a hostage at gunpoint. Like, this is one of those things that, like, I'm watching this movie and Sam's talking to the Red Hulk like he's a normal human being in some hostage, like high energy situation, like high escalated situation. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with a situation where somebody was highly enraged, but if you try talking to somebody who's in that situation, they're not hearing the words you're saying.
Yep.
And Sam, if he was talking to the real comic book accurate version of the Red Hulk, who was uninhibited, tactily intelligent, thinking, calculating, brutal, and cold like General Ross is, he would have never gotten through to the Red Hulk.
Of course not.
The Red Hulk would have charged, slapped the shit out of him, and moved on.
Yeah.
But instead, he reverts back to his human form, and then basically agrees to give up his presidency and gets locked up in the raft.
So basically, I'm gonna say it.
Basically, he's a bitch.
Thank you, because that's exactly what I was gonna say if you didn't say it.
Basically, the Marvel made the Red Hulk a bitch. That you can talk. Basically, you can just talk him. You can de-escalate him
By being a bitch.
And you can just be like, "Hey, think about your daughter, man." And he'll just be like, "Oh,
you're right.
You're right." And then he'll just go right back to his human form. Like, he's just kind of a bitch. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, you don't give him any of his abilities. The only positives I can give the Red Hulk is that they actually did show him jumping like a far distance to catch up with Sam, who was flying. And they showed him doing the Hulk clap. That was what the Green Hulk did. But they only showed him doing the abilities that the Green Hulk had. And the only real abilities that they showed the Red Hulk really having is when he was first changing. Like, you saw his clothes kind of burning off of his body because his body was heating up. But you know how they got him into that Red Hulk form?
How did they do it, man?
It was because the leader, which we know is Samuel Stearns, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Thaddeus Ross develops cancer. And basically what happens is he goes to Samuel Stearns, and Samuel Stearns makes him some pills.
Oh, some lovely pills.
And basically these pills have gamma radiation. And every time he gets a new set of pills, he keeps increasing the dosage of these pills of gamma radiation.
Hey, question, Matt. Do you like saying the word pills?
Pills.
Just like that? Pills.
I think it's interesting, though, because that's not how it happened at all. You know what I mean? So it's like, not only did they change how he was created as the Red Hulk, but they changed pretty much everything. So I don't know.
Why wouldn't they?
Take it as you will. I don't like it at all. I think they just didn't do the character justice, and I think they just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Of course, because why not? Because that's just the way they do things. Because Marvel doesn't ever want to fucking realize their mistakes.
I honestly, I think at this point it's because they don't own the character still, and I think
still pisses me off.
I think they fucking do it on purpose.
I think they do too.
I think honestly they do it on purpose, and at some point it's probably just going to come down to like Universal being like, you know what, just take him,
Just fucking take him.
just take him.
We don't
Like,
need him anymore.
He's not really worth anything at this point. Like no one's ever going to use him again.
I mean, you're right.
And then at that point, when literally like you can't use him for anything, then they'll scoop him up and then they'll be like, all right, now we can do World War Hulk and we'll use him the right way.
Yeah. And then what did we just say earlier? I mean, at some point we're going to be talking about it, but
And then nobody will give two fucking shits because nobody cares about the Hulk.
well, buddy, I already told you. I mean, fuck, you
I
might
don't
as well just push the reset button and say, let's fucking do it all over again, baby. DC Elseworlds, baby, but in Marvel form.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, I think maybe Kevin Feige has to go bye-bye.
I mean, you know what?
At this point.
If that's what they got to fucking do, find somebody else who can fill the role.
I just...
Because he's becoming a moron.
At this point, it's like some of the Marvel execs are the ones to blame, and it's not so much like the people that are creating these movies and shit. It's like,
You know,
you have to look at the higher ups now and saying like,
here's the thing, though. I was thinking about it, and I think I saw an article. I actually saw that Kevin Feige wanted to go one way. Oh, no, it was actually about I want to say it was about Fantastic Four. I think Kevin Feige was like, hey, we're going to keep this like kind of down to earth and like, da-da-da-da-da. Where Bob Iger, right, CEO, president of, Disney, he was like, man, I want an action. I want it filled. I want to get it more exciting. So it's funny how the directions.
someone needs to put him in a fucking wheelchair and push him down a hill or something.
And who are we talking
God
about?
damn, Bob Iger.
So which one do you want to get rid of?
I'd probably fucking all of them.
Just say fuck it, drain the swamp in this case, but do it in the Marvel form.
Just put them all in a fucking bus and drive it off a cliff or something. I don't know.
God damn, man, that's
damn.
pretty aggressive there, bud.
All right, so let's get to the second thing here because my other issue with the movie was adamantium.
That one was
And-
probably a bigger issue.
To me, this is a much, much bigger issue, and I think this has implications that are much larger than like just Fantastic Four or what's going on within this next phase. Because, when you're looking at like this movie establishes the discovery of the metal, they actually like, hey, we named this, brand new discovery adamantium. This metal in the comics was created by accident. And it was created by mixing vibranium with like steel and iron and other metals. They created an alloy called proto-adamantium, which was actually used for Captain Shield. This is what Captain Shield was actually made of. Yes, it's vibranium, but it's actually with other metals with it. So it's kind of like not full. I guess adamantium it's a prototype adamantium alloy.
Right.
But then when they attempted to recreate the material, they created what they called true adamantium, and that's what they actually used to coat Wolverine's bones and claws.
Mm.
But the movie established it a whole different way because what they did was they used the Celestial from the Eternals that was left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically were like, hey, we went to this celestial island and we discovered this new metal that we're calling adamantium. Now, this is my problem. This movie, Captain America Brand New World, happens in the MCU present time. It's present time. You're just discovering this, right? So, like, let's just put this on the table. When you make a new discovery, you don't just go from discovery to, hey, let's experiment on people now.
True. No, I agree with you.
I mean, one in the movie, they haven't even they have a sample size that's maybe like that fits in the size of your palm, and not enough to say like, oh, we're going to experiment on not one person but 10 people. So you have to not just like study it, but you got to mine enough of it from the celestial. Not to mention, they in the movie they have a treaty with 3 other countries.
True.
So I don't know how much adamantium you're getting from that one celestial, and if there's even enough to share with 3 other countries.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be mined. It has to be resourced. It has to be refined. It has to be studied.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes several years. You're talking millions of dollars, many, many years. You can't just go from one day discovering and naming a new metal or material to then going to experiment and coat somebody's bones with it.
Right.
This is where I'm going. So even though, yes, we can say, well, Wolverine already exists in the multiverse. Wonderful. I understand this. But you have to understand those are variants and not the MCU official version of Wolverine. I love Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I love him to death when it comes.
I love Hugh Jackman. I love Wolverine. And we may find out that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is the Wolverine. But
Maybe.
that's not the MCU Wolverine right now. Because he has not been created. Because guess what? Adamantium was just discovered.
Right. And so on top of that, so again, so now we all know this too, especially if you comic book nerds out there, right? So like when you look at Logan, right? So we were talking about this earlier. Yes. He was born, I want to say right around either Civil War or like a little after that. Not the point. He was born in the 1800s. I know that. But the thing is, though, is that he literally is in a lot of different wars. Okay. So again, he's over 100 years old. I know that, especially in the comic book world side. So by the time he gets his adamantium and stuff, I mean, he's a full grown man. He's this and that. But again, he's had, bone claws for the longest time. And then, he gets experimented on and then, he's going through some shit, right? And, when you're looking at the movies, but then like now when you're trying to bring him in now saying, okay, well, the adamantium's around. Okay. As we all know, and we've talked about this, that means you're going to spend 20, 30 years ish or more, depending on that, to refine it, to then melt it, to then do all this shit to it, to then, if you want to get in an experimental phase, to then, get to where Wolverine would be at with his fucking claws. So now, when we talked about this earlier, where's the timeline? And how long are you going to fucking prolong this shit? Because...
Right, and you're already saying like, oh, he was born in the 1800s. It's 2025.
Right, he's old as fuck now. But I mean, again, then like if we go back to like Old Man Logan, I mean, granted, I understand it's a different variant, whatever. I mean, yeah, he's an old man. He's supposed to be in his like, well,
so
if you're, 50s, 60s or whatever later on,
if you're doing a brand new version, guess what? I mean, it can't be Hugh Jackman.
No, and unfortunately, you're right. It can't be him, even though yes, he was meant for the role, and but it's tough when you're trying to find the ideal character or that ideal person to fill that role, because when we look back at all the like Tony Stark and you look at Steve Rogers, right? When you look at like RDJ, right? And then, looking at, Chris Evans and whatnot, like, they filled those roles perfectly. They did the job and they were good for those roles. Just like Hugh Jackman, he was meant for that role. So it's very hard in my mind or in anyone's mind to replace somebody that has literally played it for so many years and has done it at a caliber level that is like very unheard of, especially playing one character for a long time like that, and so you're trying to find somebody that is on that same page who was basically saying, okay, if we find this new character, the whole point of it is that you would be playing it for years. It's not just, Okay, one and done. See you later. No, it's a commitment. There is no like, okay, I'm going to back out now.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find somebody, like that, but you have to almost cut out the whole 1800s part of it. You have to go from like the 1900s and on, and you're cutting out a big portion of his history.
Right.
But like, it's because of this whole thing, like where this movie creates this mineral, and it's not because like it's just so weird because
well, hold on. And not only on top of that, it's sad to see that they're willing to cut out their history in Marvel. Basically saying, okay, well, we're just because of this one fucking movie that even though it really wasn't meant to be like, oh, we're just gonna show you what adamantium is. That now we're gonna fuck up another basically set of characters in a sense. Because I mean, if you think about it, even with the adamantium, I mean, yes, with Wolverine, yes, you just fucked a character over because now you don't know where the fuck you're going to timeline and make sure everything.
Well,
fits,
they haven't even really introduced the X-Men or mutants.
Hold on,
as a whole yet.
Well, they did mention it one fucking time about the mutants part.
Well,
and that was one time, and that was the end of that because they haven't mentioned it since. And it was
that's what I'm saying, though.
No, but I agree. Now, if you don't know, you're going to find out now. But basically, what we're talking about is Miss Marvel, and it was at the very end of that fucking show. Thank God it only lasted one season. They said, "Oh, by the way, you're a mutant," and then they left it like that, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then that's how they established. Hey, guess what? That means the X-Men's coming.
I mean, they showed like Professor X, yeah, sure, and obviously Wolverine was in Deadpool and Wolverine, but like with the setup of adamantium. And even with like, in the comic books, it was created on accident, which, yes, it creates a new alloy. It creates a new metal.
Right.
The Celestial wasn't from here.
No, and that was the other thing that it pisses me off, too, is that they mined this thing on an island, which is from the Celestials, which is from the Eternals. And that's how they discover it.
Right. So it's not from here. So it's like very much like when Tony Stark finds a new element. Like he does actually create this new element. He finds it.
Well, I mean, technically,
it's very much the same thing. Like adamantium wasn't necessarily like a new thing from like outer space or like, this thing that was like a celestial. Like,
no,
it was literally a created metal that was brand new. No, this thing establishes adamantium on its own. It's its own new thing now.
Well, so yes, like I mean, if you think about
it wasn't
yes.
created.
Correct. I was just saying that yes, when you look at vibranium, yes, that was something from an alien, whatever, like from a different planet, and it came down to Earth, whatever. But yes, now when you're mixing two, metals in a sense, vibranium, and then a pro adamantium, alloy piece. And then they're like, okay, let's, so many years later, let's recreate it. And then they're like, oh, well,
right.
We created that.
That's what I would, what the comics did was sort of what Tony Stark did in creating the new element. He was like, let's put this together, and it created a new, new element.
And you saw that in, I think it was the first Iron Man, right? Or second, I don't know. But they showed it in the movie, and I remember them doing that. But
this wasn't created. It was already, it's already
there.
It's already established. It's already a thing, and that it's. I don't know. It's.
Well, I know it's small in some ways, but at the same time, it has a bigger impact on this whole timeline, this whole everything. Because when you start fucking with that shit, and it's very simple,
right? I mean, he's not the only character that.
Well, no, it doesn't
has adamantium, and he's adamantium is not doesn't just affect Wolverine. It affects a lot of other things too, but. I mean, Wolverine's like the biggest character that it does affect because he wouldn't have the same history. He would have to be a whole different character.
Right. And his timelines and everything would not be anywhere close to being the same. And so at this point, are you going to, what we've said before, are you going to introduce him as like a, bone claws and then, eventually get him his fucking adamantium claws or,
to be honest, the MCU has really fucked Wolverine as a character because I mean, if you look at Wolverine as a character, even in like the comic books, he teamed up with Cap in World War II. I mean, he was with the Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, yes, he was technically yes.
Maybe
early
not
on.
every time, but I mean, he did team up with them.
Well, he did constantly, and I mean, he was kind of a vital piece, especially later on, especially when they, were showing up and especially like Spider-Man and a few others, because I mean, he teams up with him and like teams up with Thor, because
Right.
there's so many other team ups that now we're missing out on because it doesn't make any sense now, especially with the
we
timeline.
just have the stupid, Vox version, which is still, I mean, it's okay, but it's
it just sucks that it can't ever be in the same universe
Yeah.
as the MCU. So
yeah, it's
sad. It's just it just sucks that when we talk about all this, it's like we always wanted to have the X-Men come in, and I've always wanted Hugh Jackman to be it and kind of get into the player or the the piece of it, but now it's just like I don't want it. I don't really want it anymore. Because you're gonna fuck it up, and you're gonna find a way to do it.
every time they introduce like somebody new, it's just like, okay, well, what are you doing to mess this up this time? You know what I mean? It's like
they're trying to get the whole Fantastic Four to come into play, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want them to fucking come into play because didn't we talk about the whole, right before here we were like, they're putting all their bread in one basket and saying, okay, here we go, we're gonna fucking make this thing happen, and we're like, is it gonna be worth it? Is it actually gonna make sense?
I don't know. I mean, the main topic that we wanted to really talk about is like the Marvel really just trapped in its self-imposed narrative cage. Like
Right.
are they trapped kind of in this is like in their kind of box? They introduced the phases, the MCU. They kind of tightly woven this like single narrative across their entire franchise. Each phase they carried out their own, its own theme. Every movie having to plot, having a plot that fit within that theme. And I understand like a lot of those movies, like, yeah, they brought in literally billions of dollars. They've built a massive fan base, but it's also, I think, become like a creative trap. They haven't allowed as much creative freedom to move around within that MCU narrative.
Well, and we kind of talked about this before, but when you have DC, doing their thing, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have, different versions of Batman, different versions of Superman, different versions of blah blah blah. Name whoever it is, we have those differences. I mean, granted, yes, they give them a creative outlook and say, hey, here you go. It's not part of our universe, but we are going to give it to you, and we're going to give you different lights of this. And so that way, at least people can say, oh, I really like this version. I really like this. But, now you can do whatever you want and still do the universe as well. And so, with that being said, it's like, you're looking at the MCU, yes, as we've mentioned before, it's like you're stuck. There is no creative nothing. You can't even, oh, you want to do a Captain America? Well, fuck you. Guess what? It ain't gonna fucking happen. Oh, you want to do an Iron Man movie? Yeah, well, fuck you again because
Yeah,
that
I mean,
shit's
it's
not gonna
just
happen.
every, because every film, show, the characters, they have to connect to the larger, MCU, continuity, and there's no room for any of those standalone or the one-off stories that feature those legacy characters that exist outside the MCU, because that's one of the problems that they created with these legacy characters, that the original Avengers they're either dead, retired, or they've been dragged through the mud. Like Thor and Hulk are one of the prime examples. Like we just talked about the Red Hulk. I actually had a picture that I saved on my phone. Let me see if I can find it. Because it was one of like, it was a picture of each side of Civil War.
Oh boy.
And it was Sam Wilson, and it says became Captain America. Ant-Man enjoying life with the family. Hawkeye retired with the family. Scarlet Witch, MIA.
Yep.
Captain America lived with Peggy for decades, aka dead.
Yeah, basically dead.
So Bucky became congressman. And then we have the other side. Basically, Black Panther, dead.
Dead.
Iron Man,
Dead.
dead. Black Widow, dead. Vision,
Dead.
dead. Spider-Man, alone and forgotten.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least that's true.
And then, what is the other? What can I think of his name? The other Iron Man.
Oh, War Machine.
War Machine is kidnapped. That's what it says on the top, over the top of his head.
I was going to say kidnapped. I don't remember him being kidnapped, but okay.
That's what it says.
All right. Well, it's sad, man.
But needless to say, I don't believe that he is even War Machine anymore. Even though he pretty much, even if he is War Machine, he's basically with the government anyway. So it doesn't really matter. He doesn't operate on his own. He operates with the government. So
I'm going to say this. It's just, it pisses me off when, when they want to do the same level of hypeness, like, as Endgame, and they want to have all this fan base and everything else. And so, it's like you almost have to go back to your roots and like think about like where you guys started and you kept building and you kept doing this. And then like literally it was like after the end game, like we've talked about before, it's that is when they started to shift and they thought, okay, this is going to be great. It's going to be wonderful, whatever. But you look at it and you say, well, why don't you just at this point, right? Like you give people the creative, basically boundaries of saying, hey, you know what? You can go nuts on it. Here's this. You can still do this, but we are going to keep the MCU, but you can still have your movies or whatever the fuck you want to do, right? So that's where I feel like Marvel at this point should just realize, like, hey, you know what? You've done a great job up until a certain point that you made stories, you've done all this stuff. But right now, the timeline and all these things that you keep adding and you think it's going to make sense, it's not. It's not going to make any fucking sense. I mean, you clearly lost the blueprints to what you should have brought back from the beginning, and you're not following them anymore. You're just doing your own fucking thing. And it's just
lost them. They never fucking had them, and if they did, they were freaking drawn in crayon.
Well, no, I mean, I know what you mean, but I mean, like at least some of the stuff, for the most part, was at least accurate. Some of it was not. Of course, they did their own shit. I mean, I know because you and I talked about Civil War in the past, and we've talked about certain events that should have never happened and didn't happen or whatever, and how many characters that weren't there. But again, when you're doing that, whatever, fine. They made their own creative progress, but at the same time, yes, after a certain point, no. They lost their touch. They lost everything. They thought, okay, hey, let's do a movie and a TV show and do all this shit in between and have like multiple of everything. But then the quality of everything fucking sucks because none of it made sense.
Right.
And then you bring in characters that, why are you doing that? Why are you getting rid of other characters? And so again, you're making a pile of shit. You're putting it together and you're thinking, okay, well, this is going to work. Well, fuck no, it's not going to work because now here you are with a pile of shit and you're still not going anywhere.
Well, and it's like, I mean, they really just, I mean, they started off well, you had your phase 1 and then they went into phase 2, really, I mean, they planned for phase 1 and 2 and then 3. But then I thought, when they really got to like, after when 3 was really occurring, they really just shared out this fucking timeline that was like, here's what's happening through phase 7. And it was like, what the fuck? Like, we haven't even gotten to 3 yet. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
oh, you didn't know we're actually on phase 15 now.
It's like, when is phase 7 happening? Oh, well, that's like 2029. What?
Why the fuck are we talking about it now?
Why are we talking about that now? Can we focus on like what you're doing
now?
Right now? Well, no, we have to plan for then.
Well, then you also
when is then going to be now? Well, it won't be. Well, then can we just focus on what you're doing now? Like, don't fucking focus. I don't care what's happening then.
Well, no,
because what you're doing then, you keep fucking moving anyways. Like right now, do you know that they postponed and moved both Avengers movies already?
I'm not surprised.
They did. Both Doomsday and Secret Wars now have later
Mm.
opening dates.
But it's really funny is that if instead of having to worry about things that are not even happened yet, maybe you should focus on the present, like a movie that we talked about earlier. That maybe you should work on CGI before the fucking film ever came out, for example.
Or like getting characters right. Or instead of like,
you
instead of planning a movie that's like coming out in 2029,
right,
that you don't even know is going to be coming out. Or how about this? Plan out a fucking Blade movie
the right way.
the right way.
And actually,
and this is exactly like what we're talking about is like when you are in this like narrative cage, and this is like what we're talking about, like creators that are outside of like Marvel Studios, they can't touch these characters or these properties or anything to do separate unique stories because they're locked down inside the MCU, even if they're retired or dead or otherwise. So there's no room for any fresh creative voices, no different interpretations, despite how many adventures exist within the comic books. Like Marvel characters, you have, Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, Blade, Black Panther. All these characters that can have solo stories, they can't unless they fit within MCU canon. And even if they did, I'm sorry, but they don't fit within our phase right now,
right,
or in any future phase that we have already planned out.
Well,
and they're locked away until they decide when and where they are debuted. So even if you were like, hey, I have a really killer story for, this set of X-Men, and Marvel really, really likes like, your treatment, which is like what they call, movies,
right,
before their movies. Marvel is still going to sit on that for many, many years until they decide, like, hey, we're going to introduce that in phase 22. Well, when's that going to be? Probably the year, 3042. Oh, cool. So never.
So not in our fucking lifetime.
Probably. So, yeah, that's exactly the problem. What Marvel should be doing is taking a character like Blade, okay? A vampire hunter, okay? A daywalker vampire hunter. Look at studios like Blumhouse. They're amazing. And really make a good Blade movie that's a little bit darker, R-rated, that has a little bit of a horror edge to it.
Well, you know what? And I'm going to say it. Also pay a little homage to that as well, because the fact that we've talked about this before, that without the Blade movies originally back in the, late 90s, early 2000s, Marvel would not be in existence at all. And this is what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to make a Blade movie, sure, you can do that. Absolutely. What you just said, absolutely. But also make sure that it's actually worthy. Because the fact that it saved the fucking company, and again, Disney bought them out later on, you should do that.
This is where, like, if I was like, oh, I'm ABC production company, like, I want to do a Blade movie. No, go fuck yourself. Go sit in a corner and pick your nose again.
And while you're at it, play the game. Go fuck yourself.
But like, you have a good studio like Blumhouse or something, like a good production, company like Blumhouse. They're the ones who have done like The Conjuring and have done good movies.
Okay.
And you go, hey, we're having a problem in-house trying to create this Blade movie. This is the character. This is what we're looking for. Can you make something happen? But they would never in a million years do that. Because why?
Of course not.
It loses their control. Even though it wouldn't, because they would be working alongside both Disney and Marvel to create this one movie.
Well,
that's the difference between Marvel and DC, because this is what fucking DC does. DC does this very thing.
Well, it also here's the thing too.
You know what I mean? Like, this is what DC does.
No, I know, but I was gonna say, like, with Marvel, it's like, if you're willing to work with Sony to get a Spider-Man into the universe, and they did that, and they've been doing it, and they're like, okay, this is a wonderful partnership, whatever, and they've done the same thing with the Universal. So why is it, like you said, why is it that you can't find somebody to work with? You're lending them the character and the rights to them, but you allow them to do it. I mean, sure, you want to have some oversight, sure, whatever, but at least give them some creative reign to give you a movie that hopefully people would be like, wow, this shit's great. It's actually not a pile of shit, right? Because at the end of the day, you're thinking, wow, you actually took the time to actually do all this shit. Because I'm not mistaken, man. How many writers have they already gone through? And like the directors and all that, like how many writers and directors have they already gone through?
They've gone through a shit ton.
Yeah, I think it was like 5.
and now pretty much like the movie's canceled. Like they're not making a Blade movie. I can tell you that right now. Like they are not making one.
Yeah, and again, I'm not surprised, because why would you?
And you could easily have, like I said, you can have a company like Blumhouse come in and they would make a killing. Like if Blumhouse made a Blade movie, it would be easily $1 billion movie.
Well,
100%. It would be a $1 billion movie.
But again, I know Marvel, or at least Disney's not like, oh, well,
because it would not it would not be your fucking Mobius or whatever the fucking shit that Sony has done, and it would not be the same crap that like Marvel has been toting.
Right.
Blumhouse would do Blade 100% justice as a character with the story. They would make it like it would be scary. It would be good from a story perspective, but as a character perspective too. I'm sure there's other studios out there that probably could do it justice. Maybe like A24, like one of those studios, like
right, yeah,
they could probably do it justice too. But Blumhouse is like the first one that comes to mind that would like, because they're also not like as big as like Marvel and.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing. I mean, you could throw Blade, you could throw even like, what the heck is that? It was the little mini, or was that like a short film or whatever the hell it was? It was the nightmare, or the werewolf by night, something like that, or like the Howling Commandos, or throw them in the whole same realm and kind of like, do that, because like those would be a great kind of like side a little piece, to bring in the like the horror, the monsters and things like that, because Marvel's never really known to be that.
Or even if you reached out to, I believe the guy's name is actually Jason Blumhouse or Blum,
yeah,
who is in charge of Blumhouse Productions. Even if you brought him into Marvel and you said, look, we don't want your whole production company. Maybe they can, come, you can bring someone on board to help you. But like, we want you to direct or produce produce a the Blade movie. That would still be something. And that, like I said, this is what DC does. I mean, it's both like one of the benefits, and it's both a problem, because one, you'll end up having multiple versions. You'll end up like it's outside the MCU. Right. This is where like Elseworlds is much different, where, with Matt Reeves creating the Batman and the Penguin, they're outside of James Gunn's DCU. So they're, Robert Pattinson is not James Gunn Batman.
Right.
There's going to be another Batman that's going to be in James Gunn universe.
I pray to God he's going to be good, but yeah, we'll see.
But this is where, I think when you look at what Marvel should do moving forward, like, I think what Marvel should be doing, maybe after Secret Wars, I think they need to ditch these long-term phases. I think they just need to stop planning like 5 years or however long they go, scale back and focus on quality and not quantity. Like, they need to just stop doing all of these stupid phases and just go back to just maybe making like movies.
Well, and that's where, that's why I agree. When, they have made a movie story telling, universe, which was nice. And you build those characters like we mentioned. You build the foundation. And right now, there ain't no fucking foundation. There is nothing to literally support itself because you and I both know that, yes, there's a lot of characters that are not.
Because every
Strong,
single movie has to be in the phase. It has to be that narrative that equals. So if if that phase is like what Endgame was, your Endgame was Thanos, and the Infinity Stones, right. Every fucking movie had to fit that narrative. Every single one. You could not have another movie that was just about something else. Every movie had to have an Infinity Stone. Every movie had to be about it. You could not have had another movie where it was just Iron Man going on a single mission just by himself.
No, you're right.
Like him just going up against the real Mandarin and not some fucking stupid actor guy. You know what I mean? Like it was just, you had to have every movie that would have been about that.
Correct.
And this is where they need to ditch these long-term phases and just go with, maybe 2 or 3 of them can connect. Sure. Go for that. But like, do standalone stories.
And then maybe, here's the thing, like the one of my favorite things about Marvel is that it almost like they created, well, they didn't really create it, but it was something they did so well that people were so excited for, was the whole Easter eggs. When you saw that little tidbit right at the end and you saw that something was like somehow like, oh, what's this? Yes. And like using those as like your connecting pieces are doing that. That to me was awesome because I was like, oh, I gotta watch. Like, not many. Like, there are very few movies that, yeah, like you'll sit there and you try to watch it at the end and like, oh, wait a minute, there is no Easter eggs. This isn't like Marvel. Like,
they haven't done. I mean, I think like Thunderbolts might have been like maybe the first one in a long time that like had a scene that.
Did you watch Thunderbolts?
No, but I know what the scene. I know what the scene is.
Okay.
In the credits. That points to a future movie. But like most of the credit scenes are like almost like a deleted scene from the movie. Like it's like, 2 of the characters talking and it's like, oh, blah, 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 oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what the fuck is that about? Like, it doesn't point to anything. It's just like, it's sort of like when they used to show like, that one silent scene where they're just eating shawarma.
Oh yeah, that random shit. Yeah,
it doesn't point to anything, and it's fine because like they weren't thinking about a lot of this then. But like a lot of the scenes back then, when they were thinking about the phases, like the scene when you saw Thanos.
Well, that's what I was about to say. At least for the first time,
you saw Thanos, and you were like, "Oh shit, who's that guy?" I mean, if you were a comic book fan, like you kind of knew who that guy was, but you're like,
"Okay,
what's he doing?
What are you doing there?
What were you doing?
What are you doing over there?" Yeah, and then and then each movie kind of progressed, and you saw.
But a lot of things, a lot of more recent ones, you're not seeing like what's happening in the next movie. You're just seeing some bullshit, like random thing, and you're like, I stayed all this time for that.
What kind of bullshit is this, motherfucker?
But yeah, I think they just need to ditch these like long-term plans, and you know what they also need to do, John? They need to cut the character fucking overload. Like, not every movie has to have 85 characters to make it good.
No, like again, building your characters, man. Like taking the time to literally build characters.
Yeah.
At least, okay, ready to phrase this: strong characters, things that you can build upon, that they can stand alone in a movie.
I mean, the thing is, what made Iron Man and Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Black Panther resonate is like they did Iron Man, and then they did Captain America, and then they kind of introduced them together. You know what I mean? They put them
Right,
kind of
in the
together
movie,
in the
yeah.
movies, and then you kind of saw them go back and forth in Avengers, and then you saw them like building those together.
Right.
But they were character driven. They didn't just like, oh hey, there's 15 characters in this movie, guys. Hey, there's 25 and 30 in this one, and
By the way, it's about to be 100 in the following films, but yeah, you're like, wait, what?
The third thing is they need to just open the fucking vault. Open your vault. Let other creators pitch ideas for legacy characters and standalone stories outside of the MCU. You don't have to call it Marvel Elseworlds. You can call it something else. But
Marvelverse.
You can create something, and it could be alternate universe films, darker tales, animated projects, or some kind of a genre experiment. But like, let other creators do other things with these legacy characters or standalone stories, one-off stories. Like, there's so many other adventures in the comic books. We want to see, if you could imagine like maybe a noir detective Captain America.
Oh, I mean,
Or a true horror, like I said, a true horror-based Blade story, or a retro 1970s Iron Man sci-fi thriller.
Well, that's a interesting one, but yeah, I mean,
like,
agree.
Even like comic book actual adventures like that we haven't seen. Guess what? Right now, you will never see them.
Right.
Never.
Because they'll never let them out of the vault.
Because one, Captain America's dead, Iron Man's dead, Black Panther's dead,
right?
Black Widow's dead. Like, a lot of these characters are just gone.
That's true.
You will never see these stories ever told unless they open this vault and let creators actually pitch these ideas and say, "Hey, we want to do a story with Captain America, and this is what we got."
True.
And I mean, I think they just need to loosen the reins if they want to stay fresh, and if they want to be able to continue. I mean, they can keep making the movies and they can keep making money, but I mean, I seriously doubt Captain America: Brand New World made as much as what they were hoping for.
Well, I'm pretty sure. Didn't we talk about that movie alone? Their budget was almost $500 million, if I wasn't mistaken. That's one of the highest budgets I've ever heard of for one fucking movie, right? Or at least it was maybe it was like 4 something or whatever the hell it was, but it was up there in a budget. It was not cheap to make. Even though I guarantee you, yeah, because now that you're probably looking at it, you're probably looking at the fact that the box office was so low that it probably didn't even make as much money as it maybe was intending. If it made $1 billion, I'm very surprised. Like, seriously. Like, I feel like there's no way it ever would have made it that high.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I mean, worldwide gross, it's at 714.
Yeah, and how much was the budget?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
I'll look it up. Because I'm pretty sure that budget was very high. Let's see. Brave New World. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, maybe I was wrong. Apparently they must have changed that. I thought it was a high budget, but it's $180 million. So at least they made their money back. Whoever decided to go see it, because I know Matt and I agreed that we wouldn't see it in the theaters. We were both like, nope, we're not doing that. I'll wait until it comes out on Disney Plus, because there's no fucking way am I going to go see that movie. Because again, the only movie that Matt and I actually we did see together, technically, was this Deadpool. And I mean, I'm even skeptical on even going to fucking the theaters to go watch Marvel or the Fantastic Four. Oh, that's what it was. We were going to look up Fantastic Four when it was supposed to come out. That's what I was trying to figure out. Oh, there is a trailer for it. Oh, no kidding. Yeah. It's supposed to come out July 25th, by the way.
Oh.
So, anyways.
So basically what it's saying online is the actual budget for Brave New World is not actually being reported correctly.
I thought it was higher. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it's being reported that it's 180, and it's not. It's actually 380.
Whew. Almost $400 million.
Yeah.
I thought it was higher than that. I swore I thought it was like a higher budget film, but I guess whatever. Point is it's still high enough where, if you didn't make.
Yeah, so it's 380 million, and worldwide, right? It made 714, so it's made like 400 million, which,
I mean, sure. I mean,
it's not really that much. It's not really a profit to that,
Well, no, I mean, it's not a big profit like you took a movie like Endgame, where it was probably, I don't know exactly what the budget was.
I mean, it's still a profit, but I mean, you spent 380, and you made it back, and you gained another 400. So I mean, but I think you were probably, I think Marvel maybe that it was hoping for closer to maybe $1 billion, but still.
I mean,
you still made a profit, but it still wasn't probably what you were hoping for.
Well, I was going to say with Endgame, because I was looking at it, it said it was estimated around 356 million to about 400 million. So it says the film is one of the most expensive films ever produced. The profit wise, it says it's about 890 million technically in profit, which technically, like, the revenue from that is actually, again, it was 2.7, which I feel like that was a lot higher. I was like, revenue wise, they made a hell of a lot more on that fucking movie than any other. But my point is, though, is that, when you made a movie that, again, is 180 million, and you're like, okay, well, we're gonna have to get our money back, and then you only made, a few hundred million off of it, or whatever the case. Yeah, you're right. It's not really a profit.
Yeah,
you're just trying to gain your losses back.
I can tell you that movie was not made for 180 million. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I feel like it, and that's the thing, man. It's like, it's crazy to me that,
especially with reshoots. If you're doing reshoots, yeah, 180 million maybe was the reshoots.
Yeah, probably, depending on what you're doing. No, I mean, it's just, again, man. I mean, you look at Marvel, you look at DC. DC, we know, damn well that, yes, some of the movies are great. Some of them
right now they're not making fucking any money because they haven't really done a movie in.
No, you're right. They haven't done a movie in a while.
I mean, they got Superman coming out pretty soon, but
right. But again, you look at the superhero world as like trying to like, show these characters, show all these things. It's just, it sucks, man. Because like I love me some like Captain America. I love Spider-Man. I love all that shit. And even on the DC side, like Flash, Green Arrow, things like that. It just sucks when, they take your favorite characters and they stomp. It feels like they're stomping on my balls as hard as they fucking can. They're smashing in my face like Glenn, okay? And they're doing all this shit. And they're not even, they're like, you know what? You're fucking watching it. Who gives a shit? I'm just going to make the money and just do whatever I want. I mean, and that's why I'm saying about, these big companies like Disney or Warner Brothers or whatever. It's like, sure, they care about the fans because all they care about is money. But if then they truly cared, you go back to your roots. Like, because, DC has always made great TV shows, especially animated.
For the life of me, like, I just don't understand how, as a writer's room, somebody in that room, when you're talking about like, oh, we're gonna have Red Hulk in the movie, and this is what we're doing, where somebody doesn't in that room just go, well, this isn't comic book accurate. Like, what
the fuck are we doing?
Can we put this in? And they're like, well, no, this is what we're. But this is what fans want to see, and really like go against the grain with what they're writing and be like, this is crap. Like, why are we writing this crap? Like,
and actually follow the again, like we've mentioned. I swear to God, Matt, one of these days we need to come up with a shirt. follow the fucking blueprint.
I don't know. I mean, Marvel definitely. I mean, I don't know what they're planning after Secret Wars, but man, if they really want to change things and they really want to make things new, I think they just need to loosen the reins and really just rethink the strategy of what they're doing with their movies and their shows, because it's just I think they're just stuck in this trap, and it's gonna keep getting worse. And do I think Captain America: Brand New World was a complete failure? No, I don't think it was a complete failure. I do think it was I do think it was it was a good movie. I just think it took choice. There were certain choices and certain things that they did in the movie that was questionable. I mean, Harrison Ford, I think, played the shit out of that Thaddeus Ross. I think he did a great job.
Really, you thought Harrison Ford did
as the character? I think when you look at how he played the character in that mode, because it was really he was trying to play a different kind of mentality in that movie than what we've seen before.
Okay. I mean, like, the guy that did it before him, I mean, I understand we can't bring him back, but I mean, like, it was hard because, like, he made it good. It's just, again, this is where I said.
Well, I mean, it was really just a different. He became president. He was trying to make amends with his daughter. So he's trying to become a different person.
Right. I get that.
I mean, there's a different feeling with with how he played the character, but I mean, there's still moments when you're like, okay, well, he's still clearly raw. Like, he's still clearly, General Ross. Like, even though he's President Ross, you can clearly see he's still the same person.
It's just, the other thing is
it's just choices.
I really wish, if that was the case, though, I kind of wish that, and I know you're not going to agree with this, but I feel like if you're going to, do that movie and, like, not have a cameo from the actual Hulk, because I mean, to me, like, you look at it as, you're looking at General Ross's daughter. I mean, because that's, I can't remember her exact name off the top of my head, but she, again, Bruce Banner, that was like a love relationship right there too. That's a love interest that literally you can't even explore now, I feel like, because you haven't even done that in so long. And so, that's never been mentioned at all. You know what I mean?
I don't think that they're really, like, even together anyways, but anyway.
Well, no, but I'm just saying that was a thing, but I don't know. It's just, again, it's sad. It's just not even, it's not comic book accurate. And so I just was like, oh, Betty. That's who it was. It was Betty Ross. Yes. I don't know, man. It's just sad. Again, and I keep saying that because it's to the point where, you want them to do it. You want them to fix this shit, but at the same time, you know what? Fuck up. Let somebody else buy them out and actually get somebody to actually do this the right way.
Well, I mean, you still have Sam fighting a Red Hulk, and you're still led to believe that him just using those Wakandan wings
plus his shield
are withstanding, because it has like that same, they had that same kind of purple glow that
you're talking about the
like vibranium,
the kinetic energy, right?
The kinetic energy, which, again, not to go there.
Here we go.
But the Red Hulk absorbs energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to leave it at that. But, like, he was punching the wings as hard as he could, even though I understand it's kinetic energy. But do you really think Sam would have been able to just stand with his legs,
right,
with that I'm not a physics major, but I would think that just the sheer force, he would not be able to at least stand.
No.
Even with that kinetic energy being forced back onto the Hulk's body.
And the other thing is, he's not a superhuman. He doesn't have.
No, he does not, and that's what I'm saying. Like, even with punching that, like his legs would not have been able to hold his body up.
No. I mean, we're talking the Hulk alone is probably.
And I'm sure some nerd out there is going to listen to it and be like, well, kinetic energy is.
Well, you know what, nerd?
If you can explain, then send a message to us and
We would-
and explain it to us, because I would love to hear an explanation of how the
He
Red
was
Hulk
able to do
did not fucking demolish Sam Wilson, who is a regular human being.
And not only that, I would love to have you on here just so we could hear all this, because you know what? Don't just send us a message. I would like.
I would love to
personally
laugh.
challenge you.
I would love to laugh at you like Rocket Raccoon.
Wow,
Like,
it's pretty.
you know, like do that really raucous laugh, because that's what I would do.
Maybe you know what? Maybe that's what you should have done for the wheels of chaos over there. You should have made that in there. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like we've been kind of talking about this for a little while now, but yes. So if you want to check it out, you leave us a like. You know what to do. I can't tell you what to do because we've been telling you for so long now. I feel like, you know, as this podcast, we've been saying, hey, you know, follow us, interact, little subscribe, tell your friends, all that fun stuff, right? You know, so you do you, we do us. We're here, two guys, two different mics. Keep doing this every week. But until the next time,
Which will be the boys.
yes, it will be no, actually, I thought it was the Evolve episode. Then
No.
that was the boys, then the Evolve? Oh, okay.
It's the boys and then Evolve.
Okay. Well, anyways, you're going to have some good stuff in store for the next couple of weeks. So until next time.